Good morning, dear students of Class 2. Today in English class, we are going to continue with lesson number 7, that is Rabbit's Turnip. Now, in the last class, we have learned the new words from this lesson, isn't it? And we have made sentences with the new words. So, today we are going to start with the main part of the lesson, alright? Now, first I will read it, and as I read it, I want everyone to point with your fingers, alright? It was winter. Rabbit was hopping about in a field. He was looking for something to eat. It is going to snow soon. Rabbit said to himself, I have to find some food. So he pawed through the field till he found a turnip. Then he found a second one. He took the turnips and hurried home. Now, what season was it? It was winter, isn't it? It's winter time, and this rabbit was hopping about in the field. And what was he looking for? He was looking for something to eat, isn't it? This rabbit was hopping about in the field and he was looking for something to eat. And what did the rabbit said to himself? The rabbit said to himself, it is going to snow soon. Okay, since it was very cold, since it's winter time, the rabbit said to himself, it is going to snow soon. I have to find some food. Okay. So when it snows, the rabbit won't be able to find himself food, isn't it? So before it snows, the rabbit thought to himself, I have to find some food. So he pawed through the field till he found a turnip, isn't it? Pawed. We've already learned the meaning of pawed, isn't it? Pawed means duck at something with his paws, okay? So this rabbit, okay? He is digging the ground, isn't it? So he pawed through the field until he found what? He found a turnip, isn't it? He was digging the field until he found a turnip, okay? Then he found a second one. He found one turnip as he was digging the field, and then he was digging some more, and then he found another turnip. How many turnips did he find? He found two turnips, isn't it? Now he took the two turnips and then he hurried home. Alright, he took the two turnips and hurried home. Now let's continue with the second paragraph. Okay, soon Rabbit was warm, safe, and happy. Then he thought about Donkey. Donkey lived alone on a hill. I wonder if Donkey has any food, said Rabbit. I have two turnips. I will give one to her. So, after the rabbit found two turnips, he took the two turnips and the rabbit hurried home. And when the rabbit was at home, warm, safe, and happy, he thought about Donkey, okay? And where did the donkey live? Donkey lived alone on a hill, isn't it? So when he was warm, safe, and happy at home, suddenly the rabbit thought about Donkey who lived on a hill. Okay, where did the donkey live? The donkey lived on a hill. Okay, and then the rabbit wonders if the donkey has any food to eat. Okay, because the donkey lives alone on a hill, the rabbit wondered if the donkey has any food to eat. And the rabbit thought to himself, I have two turnips, I will give one to her. Okay, see, this rabbit is a very nice rabbit, very good rabbit, very generous rabbit. He has two turnips and then he thought to himself, oh, I will give one to donkey, okay? So you must always share whatever you have, okay, with your siblings. You should always share the things that you have, okay? Now, let's continue with the next paragraph, all right? So, Rabbit slowly rolled a turnip up the hill to Donkey's house. Donkey was not at home. It was snowing, so Rabbit left the turnip by the door and hopped back home. So the rabbit rolled a turnip up the hill, okay? He took one turnip for the donkey and he took the turnip where? To the donkey's house. But the donkey was not at home and it was snowing outside, okay? So since the donkey was not at home, the rabbit left the turnip by the door and hopped back home and went back home, okay? Where did the rabbit leave the turnip? The rabbit left the turnip by the door, isn't it? And was Donkey at home? No, Donkey was not at home. It was snowing outside. So, since the donkey was not at home, turnip by the door. Okay, now let's continue with the next paragraph. After some time, Donkey returned home. She had found a potato for herself. She saw the turnip by the door. What a lovely surprise, said Donkey. But my potato is enough for me. Goat's always hungry. I should take this to him. So after some time, the donkey returned home. And what did she find for herself to eat? The donkey found a potato for herself, okay? And then she saw the turnip by the door and she thought, oh, what a lovely surprise, okay? And then the donkey thought to herself, but my potato is enough for me. I will eat only the potato. The potato is enough for me. Now, since the goat is always hungry, I will give the turnip to the goat, okay? The donkey thought to herself, okay? Donkey trotted to Goat's house, but he was not there. So Donkey left the turnip by the door and went back home. Okay. Now what is the meaning of trotted? Trotted means moved in a way that is faster than walking but slower than running. Okay, trotted means moved in a way that is faster than walking but slower than running. So the donkey trotted to goat's house. Okay, where did the donkey go? To goat's house. Okay, and was the goat at home? No, the goat was not there. So donkey left the turnip by the door and went back home. Okay. Where did Donkey leave the turnip at the goat's house? Donkey left the turnip by the door and went back home. Okay, now let's move on to the next paragraph. Now everyone repeat after me, okay? Soon, Goat returned home with a cabbage. He saw the turnip by the door. Dear me, said Goat, someone has lost a turnip. It must be dear. When she passed this way, I should return this to her. Now, after the donkey went to the goat's house, soon the goat returned home with what? With a cabbage. You all know what a cabbage is, isn't it? Cabbage is a round vegetable with big green, purple or white leaves. This is a picture of a cabbage. Okay, you all know what a cabbage is. Okay, and after the donkey went to goat's house, the goat returned home with a cabbage. Okay, and he saw the turnip by the door. Okay, the goat saw the turnip by the door and he said, dear me, someone has lost a turnip. Is it okay? So the goat thought that someone has lost a turnip. The donkey left it for the goat to eat, and when the goat came home and saw the turnip, he thought to himself, someone has lost a turnip, okay? It must be deer, okay? And he thought the deer have lost the turnip, okay? It must be dear when she passed this way. Okay, it must be dear when she passed this way. I should return this to her. Okay, so the goat wanted to return the turnip to deer. to the deer because he thought that the deer lost it when she passed his house. Okay, and the goat wanted to return the turnip to whom? To deer, isn't it? Now let's continue with the next paragraph. Goat then rolled the turnip to deer's house, but deer was not there. So goat left the turnip by the door and went back home. Okay, so the goat took the turnip to deer's house, but the deer was not there. So, since the deer was not at home, where did the goat leave the turnip? The goat left the turnip by the door. Like everyone else, the goat left the turnip by the door and went back home. So, they've been passing on the turnip from one animal to the other. Okay. So, the goat left the turnip by the door and went back home. Okay. Now, let's continue with the next paragraph. Deer came home with a carrot she had found. She saw the turnip. How kind! Someone's left me a gift, said Deer. But there's no need to keep more than I can eat. There is so much snow. I wonder if Rabbit was able to find any food at all. I will give this to him. Okay, so when the deer came back home, the deer, what did the deer have when she came back home? The deer came back home with a carrot, isn't it? The deer had a carrot. The deer came back home with a carrot, and when she saw the turnip, she thought, oh, how kind, someone has left me a gift. You all know what is a gift, isn't it? A gift is a nice thing that we give to someone else to thank them, isn't it? So, the deer thought, how kind, someone has left me a gift. Okay, but there is no need to keep more than I can eat. Okay, since I already have so much food, I won't be able to eat this. There is no need to keep it to myself. There is so much snow outside. I wonder if the rabbit is able to find any food for himself at all. Okay, so the deer wanted to give the turnip to the rabbit. Okay, the deer wanted to give the turnip to the rabbit. Now let's continue reading and let's see what happens. Okay, deer walked carefully through the deep snow. Rabbit was at home, but he was asleep. So deer left the turnip by the door and then trudged back home. Now, what is the meaning of trudged? Trudged means moved slowly, heavily, and with difficulty because of deep snow. Okay, trudge means moved slowly and heavily. Okay, and with difficulty. So trudge means moving slowly and heavily with difficulty. Moving slowly with difficulty means trudged. Okay, so the deer walked carefully through the deep snow. Okay, it was snowing a lot. The deer walked carefully, and when the deer reached the rabbit's house, what was the rabbit doing? Was the rabbit at home? Yes, the rabbit was at home, but he was asleep. The rabbit was sleeping when the deer reached the rabbit's house. Okay, so the deer left the turnip by the door. Okay, and then the deer went back home. Okay, after the deer trudged back home. After leaving the turnip by the door, the deer went back home. The next morning, Rabbit woke up early. He opened the door, and what did he see? He saw the turnip lying by the door. Now, how has this come back to me? Exclaimed Rabbit. Okay, so the next morning, the rabbit woke up early in the morning and he opened the door, and what did he see? He saw the turnip that he gave to whom? Whom did the rabbit give the turnip to? At first, the rabbit gave the turnip to Donkey, isn't it? So, when the rabbit opened the door. He saw the turnip that he gave to Donkey lying by the door. Isn't it? What did the rabbit see when he opens the door? He saw the turnip that he gave to Donkey lying by the door. And he was so shocked, and the rabbit exclaimed, "Now, how has this come back to me? I gave it to Donkey. How did it come back to me?" Okay, the rabbit exclaimed. Exclaimed means said something loudly to show excitement or surprise. Okay, the rabbit was surprised to see the turnip lying by the door outside his house. Okay, so we have come to the end of the story. So the story is about a rabbit and his turnip, isn't it? So the rabbit first gave the turnip to Donkey, and then Donkey gave the turnip to Goat, isn't it? And then Goat gave the turnip to Deer, and then the deer gave it back to the rabbit, isn't it? So that is the story about the rabbit's turnip. I hope everyone have understood the story. Okay, now I want everyone to read the lesson at least 3 times. Okay, I want everyone to practice read the lesson at least 3 times. All right. Now everyone turn to page 61. Alright, let's look at the questions. A. Complete these sentences. Rabbit found dash in the field. Now what did the rabbit find? Rabbit found a turnip in the field, isn't it? So your answer is a turnip. Okay. Now let's look at number 2. Rabbit already had a turnip. So he decided to give the dash to his friend Dash. So the rabbit already had a turnip, so he decided to give the second turnip. Okay, right? Second, 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 dash turnip, second turnip to his friend Donkey. Alright, to his friend Donkey, isn't it? Donkey had, now let's look at number 3. Donkey had already found a potato, so she thought of Dash, who was always hungry. Okay, now since the donkey had already found a potato, she thought of whom? She thought of Goat, isn't it? Since the goat was always hungry, the donkey thought of the goat. So she thought of Goat, who was always hungry. Okay, now let's look at number 4. Donkey left the turnip at Dash. Goat returned home with a dash. He thought his friend Deer had lost her turnip. Donkey left the turnip where? At Goat's door, isn't it? Donkey left the turnip at Goat's door. Goat returned home with a what? What did the goat return home with? A cabbage, isn't it? Goat returned home with a cabbage. Okay, he thought his friend Deer had lost her turnip, isn't it? Now let's look at number 5. So Goat left the turnip at Deer's door, but Deer had already found a dash for herself. But Deer had already found what for herself? A carrot, isn't it? A carrot for herself. Now let's look at number 6. Deer bought the turnip back to whom? Whom did Deer give the turnip back to? To the rabbit, isn't it? It finally went back to the rabbit again. So you can do this A in your textbooks itself, okay? Now let's look at B, okay? Answer these questions. Why you have to do this in your notebooks, okay? Why did all the animals have to find food? Now, why did all the animals have to find food? Because it was going to snow, isn't it? And it would be difficult to find food in the snow, all right? So you will write your answer like this. all the animals had to find food because it was going to snow and it would be difficult to find food in the snow. Okay, I will repeat it again. All the animals had to find food because it was going to snow and it would be difficult to find food in the snow. All right, now let's look at number 2. But my potato is enough for me. Who says this? Now, who says this? Donkey, isn't it? Donkey said these lines. Who says this? Your answer would be donkey. Now B. What does the speaker do next? What did the speaker do next? The speaker went to goat's house to give the turnip to him, isn't it? So your answer will be the speaker goes to goat's house to give the turnip to him. Okay, I will repeat it again. B, your answer for B. The speaker goes to goat's house to give the turnip to him. Alright, now let's look at C. What does this line tell us about the speaker? Now, what does this line tell us about the speaker? This line tells us that the speaker is not greedy, isn't it? This line tells us that the speaker is not greedy and the speaker is caring towards others. Okay, you can also write that. So you can write this line tells us that the speaker is not greedy and caring towards others. Okay, that would be your answer for C. Now let's look at number 3. What did goat do with the turnip? Now, what did the goat do with the turnip? Goat gave the turnip to deer, isn't it? Goat gave the turnip to deer. Now, let's look at number 4. But there's no need to keep more than I can eat, said deer. This line shows that deer is kind, smart, caring, greedy. Okay, you can tick more than one. These lines show that goat is kind and caring, isn't it? Not smart and greedy. You can tick kind and caring. Alright, so you will have to do these in your notebooks. Okay. Now let's look at number 5. Okay, you will have to do this in your notebook too. Okay, now how has this come back to me? Now, how has this come back to me? Who says this? Who said these lines? The rabbit, isn't it? The rabbit said these lines. What has come back to the speaker? Now, what has come back to the rabbit? The second turnip, isn't it? Your answer would be the second turnip has come back to the speaker. Okay, what is the speaker feeling here? Tick the correct word. Now, what is the speaker feeling here? Excitement, anger, or surprise? Surprise, isn't it? So you will tick surprise. All right. Now let's look at C. You can do this in your textbook itself, okay? Rabbit's turnip is passed around to many animals before it reaches rabbit again. Complete the circle in the order of who finds the turnip, okay? So, the rabbit's turnip, it's been passed on to 4 animals, 4 of them, isn't it? So, first, the rabbit had the second turnip. Okay, the second turnip, it's passed on to these animals. First, the rabbit gave the turnip to donkey, isn't it? And then after donkey, the donkey gave the turnip to goat, and goat gave the turnip to deer, and deer gave it back to rabbit. Okay, this is the circle. First, the rabbit had the second turnip, then donkey, then goat, then deer, and then finally the rabbit had it again. Okay, so you can do this in your textbook itself. That will be all for today. Okay, do your homework properly, write it nicely, and everyone submit your homework by this Saturday. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you.